Hey, this is Therese Swenson, and it's still mask wearing time. We're going to be wearing masks for a while, so I want to remind you, I've actually been wearing two, because one of the things I learned this week about COVID-19 is that it's about the viral loading. They're finding that if people are wearing masks and they get the virus, if they've been able to reduce the amount of viral loading, they have less sickness. Their symptoms are less severe. Now, of course, we've talked about COVID-19 affecting people that have other health issues, but truly this COVID-19 is washing through our country and we have to be careful. So you don't have to wear a mask at home or with your family or your pod or if you're walking alone. But anytime we're passing people, if you can protect yourself, I know we've all heard it and heard it and heard it. So because masks are required, I want to remind you to have several options in your car, in your handbag, in your jacket pocket. Now it's getting to be the end of the year. So I'm just a reminder. It was interesting. I held this up on September 6th that kind of shows our background because it's the same color as the green screen. But when I held that up on September 6th, I said, this is an example. Any scarf you have around, you can have it with you, have it in the car, just have extras. Okay, now I'm here at Public Access Television. We're located at the Alvarado Street studio, Alvarado building, I guess it's called. And I think it's 616 South Weed Boulevard. And we have a website. And if you'll put that up, if anybody's trying to find us, or if you want to get involved, go to our web. Because that way you can find out if you want to get involved either working in the studio, producing videos, submitting videos. You may wish to have content that you provide to the studio that they can use. But Elijah is he our president?
Program director.
He's the program director. Thank you, John. My tech is advising me. And Elijah, our program director, he puts all of our content on the air. So all of the meetings that are being recorded, whether it's in your city, county, local meetings that of interest to you that you weren't able to attend, those are recorded and stored in archives. So if you go to that website, you can find what's called video on demand, and you can watch anything that's going on in your community that's changing or that you're curious about. You can watch those meetings. Now, also, there's many producers here at the TV studio, MCTV, Mountain Community Television, and we also show in Wairika, YCTV. Now, I'm also involved with Siskiyou, with Rogue Valley Television, RVTV, and I want to show you this. This is called a program guide, and I'm holding this up so you can get an idea about blocks of time. Now, in Ashland, Southern Oregon, Jackson County, I don't know, they have about 7,000 people that watch cable there, but you can also get it on Charter Network. But what's important about this is it shows on the weekends that they have children's programs, and maybe they've collected a sermon that they found interesting at one of the different religious gatherings or people that gather for weekly prayer or study. So that's there, but also they have regular shows that show about music or politics or food or meditation. Now, we also have many producers here that are doing shows. So when you go to the website, you can see the different producers and some of the programs they have in archives. But I found out recently we're on YouTube. So if you go to YouTube and you just say Siskiyou Media Council, it will show what's been recently loaded into the queue. So some things might be old shows, but there might be new ones. And you can kind of see what's being generated through this Siskiyou Media Council, which includes the South County Mountain Community Television, MCTV 15, and Wairika, which is Channel 4, YCTV. Now, speaking of Wairika, I have a poster for Main Street of Wairika. And this show today, I'm calling Main Street. And the reason I'm calling this Main Street, there's the mock-up. I'd like you to look at this just for a minute because you will recognize that that's Main Street in Wairika. And they have something called the Art Hops. And about every 8 to 10 weeks, they all gather. They've been having outdoor gatherings. I think this month it was Scott Durbin playing music. We all know him. He was a wonderful chiropractor, and he's retired, but he's still doing music. But what's important about Main Street? I want to bring that up through this show. I'll be talking about Main Street because we are getting back to Main Street. A lot of people before this pandemic were starting an entrepreneurial restaurants or markets or stores, and the crash came and everything shut down. So a lot of people that were trying to start new businesses were compromised and maybe had to close. But this is an opportunity too to realize that mask wearing is going to go on and social distancing is going to go on, but there are things that we can all do that are needed in our community. You know, at one time when Walmart came to town, several little businesses on Main Street were closed because people would do one-stop shopping. But I think now is a good time because we do have a little more time with 40 million people out of work. There's still a lot of people working in industries that support serving us at home, whether it's Amazon, UPS, the food, people are ordering food, and family once a week they order a meal. Different ways to support your local restaurants is to order to go and come home and eat it with your family. These are the traditions that are being remembered, is that we're all having meals together again. For many years, people were just so distracted and spread so thin. I know it's hard to work from home. People are working from home and now having to coexist with their job and their family and the pets. And we're seeing these wonderful takeoffs from the Zoom meetings where somebody's cat walks through across their desk or a dog is asking to go out. I watch Stephanie Miller in the morning she does radio TV, and her dog will come and get in the frame. It's kind of fun. She has one of those big dogs, can't think of what it is. Anyway, I like to not only invite you to get involved in public access, which is how I like to start my show, that we have public access here in the South County, and free speech is very important to all of us now. Corporations that own television stations control the news that you get. So it's really important. I don't care where you get your news, please get your news from more than one source. Not just the administration's programs that you may be watching. Every once in a while, switch to another station and see how the news is being reported. I like to encourage people to get the newspaper. There's so much in the paper. Not only your local news, you know, in the old days, people would buy it just to buy a car or look for a job, or maybe your lease is up and it's time to move closer to family or work or schools. I like to remind you to get the paper because there's so much going on in your community that and especially now that kids aren't in school, usually we would find out about what's going on in our workplace over the water cooler or in the coffee room, or talking to our neighbor over the fence, or the kids would hear about stuff that got posted each week and given to the kids. These are the events that are going on. And now we're just looking for more outdoor events. I mean, really, I'm not sure if this is the time of year that people are doing mushroom. Is this mushrooming time, John? Because one of the things people can do outdoors, I don't know what time of year you get mushrooms, But I'd like to talk about mushrooms for a minute because it is something you can go out in nature and do and you can study about. And the reason is we're looking at alternative foods and ways to get, I don't know what's in a mushroom. John, has it got proteins or something? It's good for you? Fiber? But here's what Vitamin D. Okay, I want to talk a little bit about mushrooms because if you are looking at different ways to bring food into your family and you might consider mushrooms, you need to be very aware that one of them is very poisonous. And I want to make sure that that sticks in your memory. If we have the picture of the most poisonous one, I want people to look at that, and I almost want to put a 0 with an X through it. Do not pick this mushroom. Big no. 0. Don't eat those. Poisonous. Now, there are other mushrooms that are edible, and if you're buying them in a store, they've been chosen for you as edible. So some of the different mushrooms that we have pictures of that you can buy in markets, these are different mushrooms, and there's different ways to cook with them. Some of them really have good flavor. John, one of the series, these everybody's used to using, and I've even recently, when I went to Granzella's, I got those, they were marinated. Oh, it was delicious. So we might want to learn how to marinate them and make them into salad. Now, these are the ones that are most common. I think John was saying these are morels, and people go out in nature and find these, and he said they're flavorful. You know, people like to cook with them. Some people call them, if you're a vegetarian, it's your steak. But I want to tell you a little bit about mushrooms. I read this in a local magazine we all get. I'm not an animal, a plant, or a mineral. Take a minute to get your head around what a crafty 20-question choice that makes me. It infuriates little brothers and sisters on car rides. What is it, they shout? I, a mushroom, am a fungus. I do keep you humans guessing. I'm both edible and toxic. Vegetarian yet meaty in flavor, wild and domesticated, a contemporary health craze is an ancient remedy. I can send your mind on a wild hallucinogenic flight. Make sure you find out which one that is. I don't know which one it is, but it can take you on a day's mental distraction. I can also kill you. And I can come from a mysterious, much larger organism underfoot than you can barely comprehend. I want you to understand that this would be a good thing for kids to study now while the kids are having to choose different things that they're doing in school. You imagine an umbrella-type toadstool, but it's not only a white button mushroom, but a fairy tale, Super Mario Brothers and Smurfs, and the image is falsely narrow. I can grow like shelves on a tree. Oh, and about that, I want to tell you, on the coast, they found one that they were able to age it, and it was 100 years old. I couldn't believe that. Anyway, I just want to encourage people to look up mushrooms. I don't want to spend too much time, but I do want to remind you that it is a healthy alternative to study as we're looking at different food groups. So that was one of the things in terms of reading, writing I wanted to share. But another thing, I want to encourage you to get the paper because they're calling all writers. Siskiyou Writers Club is for everyone. Are you a published author? Are you a yet to be unpublished author? Are you someone who dreams of becoming an author? Have you ever written something you were proud of that gave you the feeling of accomplishment? The reason that matters is because there's a group calling all writers. Siskiyou Club is for everyone. I want you to look this up. A couple names. Bob Castor. I forgot to give John this number, but I'd like to give you a phone number. I'll say it slowly. If you're interested in writing, it's going to be on the last Thursday of each month. Various venues, they're going to be meeting. The Siskiyou Writers Group's next meeting is September 24th, but that'll be this week. So you just want to find out. 598 is the phone number, 5204. 598 5204. Bob Castor. Also another phone number for Mike Griffanti, or Griffatini, I don't know, is 710-4882. That's both in the 530 area code. I'll give you those numbers again in case you just got a pencil. 598-5204 or 710-4882. If you call those numbers or you look up this Siskiyou Writers Group, maybe they have a website, they're encouraged to write a story or a little one page, but I'm thinking also maybe the charter schools might get involved, or if you need to have writing projects for your kids, you might get involved and just write little one-page things. So that was in the paper that I thought some people might find interesting, because you're trying to find things to do to pass the time while we're all, what do you call that? We're having to stay home. So also, the other reason I want you to get the paper, I have really been enjoying everybody. The letters to the editor are getting grand. You'll never forget, The Dictator's Handbook, People's Opinions, Supporting Women, American Patrick Henry quotes, Your Vote, Role of the Police. I think it's important to have a voice. And I just want to remind you all that one place to have a voice is to write a letter to the editor. Also, there's opinions like people that don't understand the dam removal. I think this is really important, that the paper has answers to questions that you have, and whether or not it's better for the fish or the people or the farmers. The reason I want to tell you that is your opinion counts. They've been doing this little segment in the paper where they get one-liners from people, but they also, the letters to the editor, Jean Nels is really well known as a school teacher, Gail Demensky, Neldina Anderson, Sharon Swingle, Neil Possum. These are people that are really take the time to explain things to you. I just want to tell you to grab your paper. I think it's important. Also, you find out about things that you want to understand during all of these fires that we've been having. Volunteers have been working really hard to help with the animals that were displaced. Donkeys, parrots, dogs, cats. A lot of volunteers have really gotten together to help with evacuations. You might want to look up the rescue ranch. Also, you might want to call the any vet will be able to help you if you have a little bit of time and you love animals, and you might be able to help work with some of these animals that so many people were evacuated from their homes, and these animals need help. So you might, if you're a pet lover and you want to give up a morning a week, you might be able to, oh, pet lovers. Well, John's showing a picture of a pet I don't love. This is not a pet, but this ate my garden, and I don't know if I showed you that before, but ooh, he made me so mad. He ate everything. Every week things kept disappearing, so I'm going to have to get better deer fences. One of the things is this time of year, I'm getting to the end of my show, but I want to tell you that Better Homes and Gardens for 2 months now has had really fun ideas. Is this my close-up camera? Has had some really fun ideas about you can do with your kids. If you don't want to carve a pumpkin, because we've been doing that for years, you can still carve a pumpkin. You can still put a candle in it. I thought that had more pictures. This one had, you could paint them or stick things on them. I think it's interesting that, here's one. You can get really creative with pumpkins, and that way they last longer. But now, if you want to carve them, you do need to take the time and get those sharp knives. Here's one more little quick ideas about. Now, these are more decorative for fun, like if you were going to be having friends over, but also for kids. I also wanted to remind you that beets are one of the highest sources of iron. So please consider buying beets in different ways to cook them, because it helps give you red blood cells. And one of the things we need to do to stage ourselves against this virus is to get our immune up. Oh, speaking of pumpkins and squash and things, this little note said, give a pumpkin to your dog. You might find out that pumpkins are a good little bit of food for dogs. Veterinarians sometimes offer winter squash as a way for dogs that have digestive issues, but don't use pie mix. Don't ever buy like canned pumpkin that has spices in it or something. So also check with your vet about how much. But I was also thinking, if you have a pumpkin and you have a dog, they might want to roll it around in the yard for fun. What else did I want to share with you? Okay, that was mushrooms. I know I'm running out of time, so I want to make sure I cover everything. I was talking about gardens a little bit. I thought this was a great article in one of my magazines, and it talked about time to brine, jars of produce that you have in your garden. This one, he did beans, and what else did he do? He used apple cider vinegar and beets and different carrots, and what else did they put? Onions and the different things that you can put in salads. Now, that reminds me, when this epidemic started, we had some different runs on things. We had shortages. This pandemic brought about people being afraid they'd run out of toilet paper. And, I forgot to bring in my bag to show you something. If you run out of Kleenex, sometimes I take a small roll of toilet paper and pop it in the Kleenex box, and I can still give myself Kleenex from a Kleenex box. But first there was a run on TP. Then remember they were telling us be careful about using PPEs, the masks they were worried were needed by the people on the front lines, because getting them spread out across the country, there was a little bit of a slowdown. Alcohol, it seemed like everybody was making their own alcohol. You can make your own disinfectant, 2/3 alcohol, you want like 90%. 2/3 alcohol and aloe vera gel. You can make your own. One of the things I'm noticing everywhere I go, I try and make sure I protect myself. But when I get home and wash my hands, they're like gunky from all that glick. So I'm not sure all of the antibacterials are approved. And you might want, if you're going to buy quantities of them, double check. But back to the point I was making. Run on TP, then the PPEs. Then we ran out of alcohol. Then all of a sudden everybody was baking. So we were having a run on flour. Do you remember this? And then everybody, because we were baking so much, we were getting a little soft around the edges. So all of a sudden there was a run on bicycles. You couldn't buy a bicycle because everybody was out riding bikes. And then people were gardening, and it just seemed like they were running out of gardening things, wheelbarrows and such. And then all the home projects, people decided, well, we're home, might as well remodel the bathroom or whatever. Okay, now, what is it currently? Back to school. Desks. Somebody was saying it's really hard to find a desk. People are even going to thrift stores and stuff. So desks are now the thing that we're short on. So also, I just want to remind you to get up and get out. One of the things I like to remind people with this COVID is to stand up straight. We're all spending time with computers. We need to get up every 15 minutes, every 30 minutes, stretch. Like I said, you can either push against a counter, push against a wall, do your own form of yoga, but we have to do something to stretch because we're not moving around the communities and going to all of our events, and we need to remember to move. It's so important. So I kind of wrote a note to myself to remind you to exercise, whether you use a can of chicken noodle soup or you take a day trip. You got to get out. You got to get up, get out, get moving. Get outside and smell the pine. I know John's trying to remind me my time's running short, but I want to also remind you there's 40 million people out of work. And so there's just going to be different kinds of jobs maybe. You might not be going back to the job you made. I'm so concerned for so many people that are without resources and have to wait in long lines. We got to find a way to shorten lines. People shouldn't be burning up all that gas and sitting in air conditioning and now soon to be heating. Now is a great time to network. Career, you might be changing. You might be doing on school at home. You might be helping other parents. I want to get back to this Main Street idea. We need to be a neighborhood again. One of my shows was called Community Building, Neighborhoods, Back to School. We need to help each other as people are trying to work from home. Okay, Minor Street, don't forget, get out and find out what's going on downtown Wairika. One of the things I want to show you really quick, you're going to be finding these in your driveway. Don't just throw it out. Put it under the seat in your car or open it up and just use a felt marker and write down the 5 important phone numbers that are in your phone. Because if you damage your phone or lose it, you need to be able to contact those people. Just 5 most important ones. Just take a felt marker or go to Mom M and put Mom's phone number because she might have gotten a cell phone you haven't memorized. And that's another thing. You might want to memorize some phone numbers just to test your IQ. But what's important about the about this phone book, is that it has so much information in it. It tells post offices, it tells like your local police department, fire department, really quick without going to the web. You can really quick find the Social Security office, tribal things, calendars, places to go. You're going to get this delivered to your house. Take the time to just read the first 20 pages and look at the maps. There is so much in here. You don't realize you need this now. Don't lose it. I want you to put it in your car, and that way you'll always have it when you get stuck in traffic or something. Okay, what else do I want to tell you quick before I forget? This was, I don't want to get into a story that takes too long. For kicking stress, there's so many different ways to kick stress, but mostly we need to get up and move, and we need to change our focus and keep our mind active. And what was my other thing? Back to basics. Oh, I wanted to remind you, I found this at the library. And when I say library, I want to remind you they need volunteers because boxes of books are getting delivered and they've been putting them out for people to just come by and pick them up. Your library might need you to help. But I found this wonderful book because now that we're homebound, there's so many things we can make and do with our families and kids that need to do more than be at a computer. We need to find things they can do outside. So I want to remind you to support Main Street. This is my show on Main Street. I'm in Weed. It's South Siskiyou County, and this is public access Siskiyou Media Council. But I'm also like to encourage you to go to the Rogue Valley Television, rvtv.sou.edu. And the same thing for up in Southern Oregon. They've had terrible fires, and they really need for people to support Main Street. Let me say that again. We need to really support all our local industries and all of our local communities, and we need to be neighbors for each other because this is a time for us to pull together. So volunteer, and just remember that even though we're really busy, these are sweet times, and we need to remember to be grateful and thankful for what we do have. I feel for all the people that lost so much. Thank you for watching my show. Therese Swenson. I'm here in South Siskiyou County, and wishing you well.
Solve it, get involved and do it now, now, now. We need to build a better future, and we need to start right now. Make it greener, make it cleaner, make it cleaner.